These are some of the questions I'll be putting to my guests, who are all part of the current crop of SDG young leaders. We have Richa Gupta, an educator and social entrepreneur from India. She's the CEO and co-founder of Labhya Foundation, a globally recognized Indian non-profit that provides over 2.4 million underserved children with the necessary skills to overcome poverty while also becoming effective learners. I want to start with you, Richa. So 2.4 million children, that's an incredible achievement. How have you managed to pull children out of poverty through education?
Thank you so much. Firstly, thank you for having me here, and very excited to be at the forum at the last day. So I'm basically an educator turned entrepreneur. I started teaching as a volunteer when I was 16 years old. And at the time I realized that me teaching and children learning are two very different things. I realized that the adversity that children who go to public schools, especially in India, go through stops children from being effective learners, and therefore stops them from accessing the right kind of skills needed to overcome poverty and build those skills.
Now, what's stopping them?
So what is stopping them is the environments that our children come from, the grave adversity that they face on the day-to-day, the poverty that they face, and the lack of access to basic things like food and safe spaces to express themselves and build those skills like confidence and relationship building and resilience. And to combat that, I started my non-profit to enable children with that kind of skill to be able to face these adversities.
With your help, are you able to overcome these difficulties and go on to have a successful career and build a successful livelihood?
Yes, absolutely. So in our model, we mandate a daily class dedicated to children to build these skills particularly. So they build skills like relationship skills, resilience, learning motivation, critical thinking, and these key 21st century skills practicing every day enables children to motivate themselves to cope with the adversities that they face every day, and therefore in the long run become productive citizens and global citizens who feel responsible for the world in a productive way.
Now, we're here at this Youth Forum to talk about sustainable development goals. You all have certain specialties, but have you become aware of, like you were talking about the Food Systems Summit, the linkages between the different areas and why one, for education, for example, is linked to poverty, food is linked to climate change? Have you become aware of these kind of issues during your time here this week? Richa?
Yes, absolutely, especially as a young leader for the SDGs, working with 16 other young leaders with the UN Youth Envoy's office that have worked in all of these different arenas. It's become very apparent to me that all the SDGs are extremely connected, and we can't work on just one in isolation and forget about the others. And I think one of three of the most important that I think come together, especially for my work, is SDG 3 and 4, which is quality education and health and well-being, and also 17, which is partnerships. And that's where young people also come in, where partnership not just with governments and civil society and corporates, but also partnership with young people can bring together the SDGs to work together, and hopefully we are able to reach some of the goals together as a planet.
How have you found it, speaking to decision makers, to policy makers, how have you managed to get your voices heard? Have you managed to get your voices heard?
Yes, I think in my context, and I've had the experience to work with governments, especially in countries like India, which also have some of the most complex public systems in the world, which has various levels of bureaucracy. Two learnings that I've had, and also the wonderful experience of working with more young people during the COVID-19 pandemic, where we actually saw more and more young people come forward and not only do the work, but also mobilize catalytic resources towards well-being, education, health, etc. The one thing is to show merit. I think as young people over here at the ECOSOC Forum, we've seen that there are so many young people doing exceptional work worldwide. How can we bring that together? That is one way to work with decision makers. And the second is, of course, to understand that our voice is equally important to be at the forum, at all these decision-making forums and international forums, so that we can be more be well represented, but also be a part of the design of the solutions and not just a consultant.
Do either of you have a message for world leaders, Richa, for example?
My one message to world leaders, especially something that we also experienced during the forum this week, is that lived experience is also expertise, and young people are living the experience of experiencing challenges but also being solutionists in their own lives, and that needs to be recognized officially for us to move forward towards the SDGs, and therefore there is hope.
Thank you so much for coming, and thanks to you. This has been the SDG Media Zone at the ECOSOC Youth Forum, and as I said, a really big event coming up in the next few months is the SDG Summit, which will take place in September.